Eric Snodgrass, and I'm the Principal Atmospheric Scientist with Nutrient Ag Solutions. I'm going to thank you for giving me some of your time today to talk about this spring outlook for the state of Illinois. So let's get into this, because winter so far has had a pretty slow start. And I'm talking about up to about February 7th or February 8th. You see, the map you're looking at here shows from the beginning of January through that time period. And we've had quite a lot of warm air across much of North America and very limited cold air intrusions. In fact, most of the cold air has been over in Siberia. Well, we know that that has certainly changed as we've now gotten past Super Bowl Sunday and we're heading toward the middle of the month, and there's going to be some very, very cold air. But take a look at this. When you look from December the 1st through February 8th, this map shows you for every climate reporting district where we rank on the 129 years worth of data in terms of temperatures. And then I can do the same thing, you see here, for precipitation. We've actually been drier the farther east you go across part of the state. But here's another unique way of looking at what winter's given us so far. You see, the Midwest Regional Climate Center actually has a winter severity index. And they've got it graphed for you over there. And I just picked 3 locations across Illinois to show you. This is Peoria. So when you look at this, as time goes on, the closer you get to the top versus the bottom, the top would be the most severe winters, the bottom would be the least. And you can see that for the city of Peoria, we're actually having a mild winter so far. Again, this was up till the 8th. But you can start to see the uptick that's happening right there. Let's go south of there to Springfield. Same story. See how the black line showing you 2021 here is in that in this shading representing a relatively mild winter so far. And I can even go farther south down to St. Louis. And this, I looked at Effingham, looked at some other places. It's the same deal. We're way down here. But things are changing, as you know. And I grabbed this at 10:50 a.m. on the 8th. And you can see how cold the air has been here across our state today. And look how much colder it is as you go back up toward the northern plains and the Canadian prairie. And we're about to unleash a lot of cold air. And I make this map every day. And when you look at it, it's showing you temperature anomalies for the next 5 days. So basically from the 8th through the 13th. Now, if you look, these colors down here represent 20 degrees Fahrenheit colder than normal. And anything that's colder than that, I just mask with that color. So this shows you that the temperatures here are 30 to 40 degrees colder than normal, and it's coming right here across the Midwest. It'll really sink in once we get into Valentine's Day weekend. This is the day 5 through 10 temperature pattern, and you can see that cold air makes it all the way to the Gulf Coast. In fact, we will see, take a look at this very carefully here, we will see soil temperatures in the western and northern half of the state early in the morning on the 16th, likely below 0 at 4-inch depth, and we could get our soil temperatures down below freezing clear to the Gulf Coast with this colder outbreak. So how long does it last, and what does this mean for spring? So as you see here, this is the forecast out to day 15, which gets us into the 3rd week of February. We still have some colder air that's in place. But I wanted to ask that question, does it stick around? Because while it's here, we will find that right in through this area right there, there will be a corridor of snow. It'll be on the nose of that colder air that's coming through. So for across much of the state of Illinois, multiple chances of snow between now and just a little while after Valentine's Day. And you could see possibly some places picking up 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow with maybe some locally heavier amounts, But unfortunately, to the south of this, as that cold air undercuts it, we could get down here toward the Ohio River Valley, where the Mississippi and Ohio come together. We could be seeing some ice potential down in that region as well. Okay, as we look out through the 18th of February, as I said, we have some shots at better snowfall. And there's a better than 50% chance that right here through Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, we grab at least 6 inches, 50 to 60% chance there. So with that cold air does come the white stuff. But how long does it last? That was our question, remember? We see that the coldest air is kind of anchored with those 2 troughs I identified, and the stratospheric polar vortex will be sitting right on top of this one, but will be retreating to the north. But if the flow comes around like that, in fact, let me show you the jet stream flow. See it split in the west, but coming together right here, targeting from the Ohio River Valley over toward the mid-Atlantic. That puts us, as we look out there into week 2, which is getting us almost toward the end of February, on the wetter side of things. So expect a very active storm track with some very cold air, which is the first time we've seen that so far this winter, especially in downstate Illinois. From this point forward, though, let's talk about drought. We still have a pocket right across the center of the state extending into northern Indiana and up into Michigan, where we have drought. But there's much bigger areas of drought that are to our west, especially in the northern plains, and this drought isn't going anywhere. The soils are frozen. You're not going to get any moisture into them. But I want everyone to be watching two areas. Let's keep an eye on the southern plains and the southeast. If either of those two areas develop drought between February now and getting into March, April, May, especially into early June, it is the kind of drought that can migrate and target Illinois. And therefore, I want us to watch it carefully. We've got a few months to see if the spring rains can overcome some of these drought issues, but we have some concern there. So what is spring going to give us? Well, the end of this forecast here, these maps are valid the last week of February into the beginning of March. We start to think of March as spring. And do you notice that the colder air is trying to retreat back into the northwest, the Canadian prairie, and toward Alaska? And possibly if a southeastern ridge begins to develop, while it tends to keep an active storm track through here, our chances at seeing more mild conditions start to increase. I know you're going, wait, I see some cooler colors in there. What I'm just going to tell you is, well, let's pay attention to the overall pattern and see where the coldest air is retreating. Now, with that, you can look over there on the left and see the precipitation pattern looking out here again to that time period at the last week of February. And we just don't see a strong signal either way across the Midwest or the state of Illinois. So normal wintertime precipitation. But in March, look at the pattern difference. We think that the most common storm track will be a lot of Alberta clippers cutting through the Great Lakes and more of these systems that are coming out of the Ohio River Valley. I don't like seeing drier conditions here in the high plains and southern plains where it's already been dry, nor do I like seeing it down over the southeast. But this isn't time yet to call for alarm. This is March. What is interesting is the cold weather seems to be confined to February. You see the latest update. This just came out on Friday. The latest update here for temperatures in March favors near average to warmer than average conditions, with the coldest air that's stretching back to the west in British Columbia, parts of Alberta, and then the west coast of the United States. Now, what we want to watch is to see if this warmer pattern does evolve, does it stick around into April and give us a really early go on this growing season. That's the number one thing I want growers to be watching. There is a chance at this point that we get a jump start on 2021. Bigger picture things. March, April, and May, the La Nina is forecast to fade. And if you heard me speak earlier this month for Farm Credit, one of the things I was discussing was the ocean temperatures right here along the west coast. You see, our La Nina is down here, and it is forecast to continue to fade into spring. But if some cooler water starts to emerge in this area, that's something I want to watch carefully. You ask why? Well, we've researched this. Our summer temperature patterns that are hot and precipitation patterns that are dry, and here are the years. This is what happens. A big ridge sets up just north of Wisconsin. The jet stream dips west and then runs over that ridge and blocks us from getting any good moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. When does that happen? Well, it often happens when the ocean temperatures off the Baja, sneaking up toward the Gulf of Alaska, are cool. Thinking about that, our current La Nina does have some cooler water in there. Do you see it? And it does come up like this into the Gulf of Alaska. And the La Nina, while it's fading, still has a pretty good push out here in the Central Pacific. It's going to be around for a while, but it's come off of its peak. Now, with that being said, May, June, and July, we see near average, maybe a slight cool bias in this area. And La Nina still sticking around in the southern hemisphere. But there's a lot of warm water here and warm water there. Now, the trick will be, does the ridge set up over Minnesota, Wisconsin? Does it set up over Montana? Or does it set up here over Washington? I think this is going to be a year that early on we're going to have to watch to see if it sets up between Minnesota and Montana. And that could put us close to some of the drier potential for this upcoming summer. Now remember, what's critical is our soil moisture going into this, and we do expect in early spring good rains, which is good overall. But I do want to show you this, and when I show you this particular map, I want you to remember that long-range forecasting is speculative. It has very little skill, and honestly quite a bit of error. But the model's being consistent with itself, saying that May, June, and July, in other words, our early summer, may be a bit drier in through this area. Question is, does that dryness back to the west with time? as earlier model forecasts from this winter have suggested it will do for next summer. That has been the way it's happened for most of the last decade, that the heat has trended west, and we've gotten very hot and dry and had a lot of wildfires west. But we're going to have to watch this carefully, because with that much drought currently in place in the United States, where 60% of this country is in drought, we're going to have to watch it carefully to see if it does migrate toward Illinois as we get into late spring and summer. Many moving pieces, a lot to watch. Keep an eye on this with me, and Farm Credit will help you get through another great growing season here in the state of Illinois. Let's watch these sources of risk together, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.